Hello, and welcome back to another installment of the Lifestyle Changes of Me, Dr. Tom, the PT Gamer Guy. This is going to be our actual first kind of weekly follow-up. I know last week we kind of did a catch-up over the course of the month of January to catch us up to this point. So now we're actually the first week of February in and done. So our first weekly follow-up. How these are going to look, kind of structure-wise, we're going to talk about a little bit about nutrition, a little bit about exercise, and just a little bit about just anything else in general, kind of other or random topics. So we'll kind of start with the exercise. There's not a whole lot new there. Been able to increase, a lot of weights and reps on everything, just trying to push the progression of those a little bit. So not much to say a whole lot about exercise, although last week I did have a day where I was sick. I do have migraines that I get from time to time that are mostly affiliated with weather changes, and the weather's kind of been crazy here between really cold, snow, ice, now the sun's shining and it's beautiful out. And when the temperature or the weather kind of does a random change like that, it does usually trigger a migraine for me. So I did have a day where I wasn't feeling good, but I did still go to the Y and still kind of push through a lot of that. So it's one of those, that's kind of a difference for me. It's one of those in the past that if I was sick or not feeling well, I wouldn't be working out or doing any of that stuff. But I still managed to push through and work out. I did notice that in that workout where I was not feeling 100%, actually about 2 days where my workouts really kind of struggled. I struggled with the weights. I struggled to really get through everything. It just kind of felt like a grind or a slog to get through it, but I did manage to do so. Luckily, not luckily, but just I managed to get through it and just make it happen. So that's a difficult thing when you're not feeling well, because the last thing you really want to do is go work out and stress your body even more, but we managed to get it done. One thing I noticed this past week of exercising at the Y, I did have 2 days where, so out of the 6 days I exercise, 4 of the days I use what's called like a rear delt or fly machine. So they got a machine where you sit down, you've got 2 handles on the side of you, and you can pull the bar in front of you to work on your chest muscle. It's like a fly or a pec fly exercise. Or you can turn around, move the bar, and then pull the weights from in front of you to behind you to work the back part of your shoulder, your rear delt. A really good machine. So I use it on shoulder day for my rear delt, use it on chest day for my chest. But that machine is super popular at the Y. Like 2 of the days that I went last week, from the moment I walked into the weight room to when I left, there was somebody on that machine all the time. So I did have to kind of modify and came up. I just did dumbbell. I just kind of reversed it. I was like, well, I'm going to go lay on a bench, do dumbbell, and just do pec flies or rear delts at a bench because I don't have the machine available. But I just thought it was kind of weird that, man, why is everybody doing this machine? It's so freaking popular. And people will do both. They'll sit there and do 3 sets one way. They'll turn on and do 3 sets the other way. They'll get up and someone will instantly jump on it. And you got to watch that machine like a hawk, man. So my wife's there. She's flagging me down from across the gym like, it's open. Go get on it. It's available. And I'm like, I'm in the middle of my set with one of the other ones. So, and then I finished that set and look up, and sure enough, somebody else has jumped on in that time frame. So I may have to modify that machine or just like be a vulture and just hang around it and jump on it the second it becomes available. But yeah, otherwise not a whole lot else to do on the exercise front. Nutrition wise, did have a couple things come up this week actually. We found out we had a free movie ticket to go see a movie. So we're like, hey, we got it. And it expired on February the 4th, so it was expiring over the weekend. So like, well, let's go catch a movie then. So we kind of did a date night and went and watched Wonka, just her and I. So we only had to pay for 1 ticket. But when we go to the movies, you got to get popcorn. You can't go to the movies without getting popcorn. It's just like a must. I don't know. And we kind of tried to ration it out a little bit. You get a large and then you can get a refill. So in the past, what we would do is get a large popcorn, sit down, and we would eat an entire large bag of popcorn between her and I before the movie even started. We'd sit down, watch previews, eat a whole bag. And then as the previews are kind of finishing, I would go get a refill the bag, and then we would eat another large bag of popcorn throughout the movie. And then at the end of the movie, we'd go and refill it and take it home. So we'd get 3 refills essentially, the 3 bags of large popcorn for what we pay for it. We're going to get our money's worth, but we had to kind of ration out. We can't do that now. Once we kind of looked into the nutrition, the calories, the butter, it's like, ooh, yeah, that's going to be a rough one. So we kind of makeshifted a little bit. I kind of gave myself an allowance of I can eat so much popcorn. We got our large. We sat down. We ate a little bit beforehand. Turns out it wasn't really salty, so I went out and tried to put a little salt on it. Came back, and then it was super salty, like unedible salty. So I had to dump that, go back and get a refill. The guy looked at me. He's like, "Need a refill already?" Like, yeah, sure do. Not because I ate it, because I ended up dumping it. But then we got that, ate as much as we could. We probably ate between the two of us a half a bag of the large popcorn. My wife, being the genius she is, brought some baggies, and we baggied up the other half, and then took it out and refilled it so that we had a baggie of half a bag of popcorn, and then the refill of the full to take home to the kids. And the kids devoured that stuff. So, movie theater popcorn, gotta have it. Wonka, quick review, decent movie. Kind of weird, but anything with Wonka is always just seems weird. But for what it was actually pretty entertaining and a pretty good movie. I wasn't really expecting it to be anything that great, but we enjoyed it. It was a good but weird movie is kind of how we described it. And also over the weekend I decided I wanted to, well, I shouldn't say decided. We were at the store grocery shopping, and I saw a rack of ribs for $9. And it was a decent sized rack of ribs. I'm like, oh, I'm going to smoke some ribs then. So I smoked some ribs over the weekend and put some, rub on it and barbecue sauce, and then got to thinking I'm not going to be able to eat much of this, but, we cut them up and my family's not big on barbecue. I can tell that. But man, I thought they were delicious. I loved them. And I'm going to have them for leftovers because, I probably ate 2 ribs, and then my wife ate one and the kids ate one. So there's still like over half a rack of ribs left to eat as leftovers at some point. So got to find a way to fit that into the meal plan for the week. One thing I did want to talk about with nutrition a little bit, and I guess I've kind of put a name to this now because I've been able to lose weight in the past. At work we have weight loss challenges where you kind of get a reward if you win it. And I guess I don't know if it's good or bad, but I've won it twice and got second place once. And then actually the very first time I entered the weight loss challenge, I got second place. And I didn't feel like I put my best effort in. I was like, I got second. Then the next time I rolled around, I had gained some of that weight back. I'm like, I'm going to do it again. And then I went gung-ho at it in terms of weight loss. This was just straight weight loss. This wasn't weightlifting or anything like that. This was just dieting and losing weight. And I won it. And then I kind of put some of the weight back on and did it the next time, and I won it again. And then I kind of put my weight back on like I'm a yo-yo weight guy here who just cannot seem to keep the weight off. And I joined it a fourth time, but I didn't finish it this time. And honestly, because I was losing weight pretty well, and I thought, I don't want to win this again. I feel really bad winning this, and this is not sustainable for me. I can't just keep doing this. So I kind of just gave up on that one. But I've shown myself that with my nutrition and diet, I know how to drop weight. And people always ask me about it. I never really had a way to explain it, but I've kind of come up with a word, I guess, that describes it. And I call it like a calorie budget. Essentially, I don't know that maybe this is out there in the internet in the world, and somebody else has written books on this and done studies on it, but I haven't looked it up enough to really pay attention. But I call it a calorie budget. So what that really means is I take my base metabolic rate. What that is every day you burn calories just existing. Based on your age, your height, your weight, how much energy your body has to expend to breathe, to heart to pump, for you just to exist. You burn calories. And there's a way to calculate that. And if you go on the internet and just type in BMR calculator, you'll find them. You just punch in your numbers. It'll give you an estimate roughly. I mean, it's an equation, so it's not an exact science, but it's going to put you in the ballpark of roughly what you're burning on a day just to exist. That right there sets you up to say, hey, this is a decent calorie budget to start with. For example, me right now, where my weight is, my height, weight, and age, my base metabolic rate of calorie burns every day is like just over 1,700 calories. So I put it at 1,700. I burn 1,700 calories a day just existing. My workouts, I'm averaging about 300, maybe just over 300 calories burned in exercise. So that's 2,000. So I'm burning 2,000 calories every day. Now, my job is pretty sedentary. Like I said, PT. I'm sitting in a car, driving around, telling people what exercises to do. I have very light exercise, a very light activity level with my job. I probably only burn few hundred calories in a day's time with what I do. So roughly I'm burning about 2,300 calories a day to exist, to do my work, and to do my workouts. So where I take that, I say, okay, $2,300. That's my calorie budget. Almost look at it like finances. Like, what's my income? What's my expenses? What am I bringing in for money versus what am I spending out for money? What am I spending out for energy? What am I putting in for energy? So this kind of guides my nutrition choices a lot of times, is this calorie budget. So 2,300. That's, if I'm going to gain weight, I'm going to eat more than that. If I was wanting to bulk up with muscle and really kind of get some more muscle mass, I would be eating more than that, and a lot of it would be protein. I would be going above and beyond my calorie budget there with protein to really try to build muscle mass. I'm more so in the phase right now where I'm wanting to more so trim down and lose weight. Even though weight loss isn't my goal, more physique change, but I know I want to become more lean than what I am, and that means I need to lose some weight. So I'm putting myself at a calorie deficit. I'm coming in under budget. I want to come in under budget as much as I can, and I want to still feel full. I don't want to feel like I'm starving myself, because I think that's what I would do in the past. I would go on these like extreme calorie deficits that wasn't sustainable. And then like once the competition was over, I would just go back to my normal eating habits, and boom, weights are right back on, because I didn't sustain that. I would go too extreme with it. Now I want it to be where I'm eating, I still feel full, and I look at my calories and my food choices and go, okay, I'm still under budget here. I'm still in the red, so to speak. I'm going to lose weight with this. And I've been averaging 2 pounds a week, which is kind of on the high end of what you should probably do with all this, but that's kind of where it's been averaging out for me. And I've still felt full. I have not felt like I've starved myself at all. I mean, we've gone out to eat. I've eaten ribs. I've eaten popcorn. I mean, I'm still eating things I enjoy to eat, but I really got to ration it out. So I call it a calorie budget because I think that seems to make sense for me when it comes to, thinking about like finances. It kind of goes hand in hand with that with me, I think. And for me, that's just how my mind rationalizes it. You think about your budget financially. It's like, well, why not do a budget with your calories in your food intake? It kind of makes sense. Now, if that makes sense for you, that's awesome. If not, well, then you can just think I'm crazy, which I am, and move on with your life. But my wife had kind of come to me and she had talked to me. She's kind of getting a little bit into this too. She's not going to the extreme I am in tracking, but she's just kind of paying more attention to her input and her output, kind of as we've talked about and discussed it. And I'm doing this, and she's looking at it too, just paying a little bit more attention, because it's like, I want to maintain my weight. She's thin and she's healthy and looks great. She probably disagrees with that, but I think she does. But she, wants to be at a certain weight, and she wants to kind of maintain that. And I know she doesn't want to fluctuate. So I kind of gave her an idea, and, put in those terms, it makes sense. Like, oh, well, this is how I can maintain. If I kind of keep my intake daily around this level, then I'm going to stay the weight that I am, or the weight that I'm comfortable with. And that works. And she's, a lady she works with was talking about wanting to lose weight, and that she had been trying to do these diets and different programs to try to lose weight and hadn't lost any weight. And when I kind of put it to her this way, I explain kind of this whole process, and this is how I think losing weight is probably the most effective. She talked to her about that, and then she said the next day this lady was at lunch with all kinds of foods. Like, I think she gave up on the program after we had the conversation. Like, nope, not doing that. Too much work. No, thank you. I'm just going to eat what I want when I want, which is, that's your choice. But to make change and make meaningful change usually means making some really big changes in habits. And that kind of takes me to kind of I don't say random, but just the other topic of the day really is just habits. It's interesting because, January 1st, I made this whole change, and really it's a change in habit. It's a change in my dietary habit, my activity habit, exercise habit, just my overall habit and attitude towards all this has really shifted and changed a lot. And it's hard to break that habit of wanting to eat junk food, or, in the evening watching a show or doing something just to grab something to snack on. Or maybe you're like, oh, I feel a twinge of hunger in my stomach, and then just gorge yourself on chips. You got to break that habit and break that change. And I've been going through that change. And then at church, we go to church, and of course our sermon series is about habits and, bad habits and changing habits. And of course they're talking about it from the religious standpoint, but I'm thinking, well, it's just seems to fit. It's interesting how, God will speak to you and church will speak to you in a way when you go, it's just like, it just hits exactly with what I'm doing. It's like, how, God, how, I guess, you know what you're doing up there. I don't know what's going on, but you're speaking to me and you're telling me that, hey, you're making a habit change and a meaningful change. And part of that is getting back, and this is getting off I guess this is more the spiritual health side, getting back to church regularly. We were more online attenders, and we were in the habit of just watching church online on Sundays and not going to church. but we're making that change too, of getting back into church on a regular basis, being surrounded by community and friends that way. So that's just a habit and a meaningful change. And I feel like God was just telling me, yeah, you're making this change. This is a habit change, and this is a good thing. You need to be doing this, and you're on the right path. So it just kind of felt like a comforting pat on the back from the Lord saying, hey, keep it up. You're doing great. It's just interesting how that always speaks to you. And if you don't go to church, I would encourage you to. And it's one of those things that, man, getting in the Word and just being there and how God speaks to you, even though there may be 5 minutes out of a 45-minute sermon that you just feel like it was meant just for you and nobody else. And then the rest of it, you're like, well, that's nothing. But then it may be speaking to the person next to you or in front of you. So I would encourage anybody to do that, because it's just amazing how that works out. One thing too, and I guess I meant to maybe fit this in a little earlier, but one thing I've noticed too is just comments going through this that some people make. Because I mean, I'm not a huge overweight guy. I mean, I'm technically, with BMI and my weight, I am overweight, but people's like, well, you look great. You don't have weight to lose. You look fine. Or when I talk about my wife getting into a little bit too, like, oh, she's skinny. She's, tiny. She doesn't need to lose weight. It's like, no, she doesn't need to lose weight. But you know what? And maybe I didn't need to lose weight, but I felt like I did. I didn't feel comfortable. And I felt like I needed to be a better version of myself. And this is the way I want to do it. So I think when you're seeing people go through changes, like people going to the gym, people trying to make dietary changes, I would encourage them, say, well, that's great, man. You keep it up, work hard at it, and wish you the best of luck, versus, you don't need to do that. I mean, I get it that it's coming from a good place, and a place of just love and kindness and trying to be supportive. But at the same time, it's like, no, I want to be better. I don't feel comfortable. I want to be better. Same with my wife. She's skinny and beautiful, but she just feels like she wants to be a better version of herself. And I support that. I'm here for it. That doesn't mean that I think she's fat and she needs to count her calories. No. But if she wants to and she feels like that's going to help her feel more comfortable in the skin she's in, then by all means, go for it, man. So just encourage people along the way. It's one of those things when people are in the gym, I try very hard not to judge. As a therapist, I got a very keen eye for watching people and how they move, because that's how my eye is trained. But I always got to remind myself, they're here to be better. They're here doing better. These people are working hard. You never want to judge or get on anybody that's in the gym at the Y or on a treadmill doing weights, whatever. They're there. Half the battle is them just getting through those doors. They're putting the work in. Just encourage them. And you start to see the same people in the gym over and over, and then you just I struck up conversations with a few of them here or there, talking. You just say, hey, how's the leg exercises going today? I see you're doing legs. How the legs pushing today or something, and just encourage them. Say, hey, keep it up, man. You're doing great. Good work. So just that little bit of community there really helps push it along, because it's hard to do all this life on our own, man. So you got to have somebody with you. Take someone with you along the way, or just find the people that are working like you are. Encourage each other. Keep lifting up one another and keep moving on. With that, we'll call it a day. That's kind of like a motivational speech at the end there. Sorry, but so first week's summary in the books, but that's kind of how weekly summaries are going to look for this. We'll just talk a little bit about the nutrition end, exercise end, any kind of random stuff that's kind of popped across life in the week as we've gone through it, and we'll address them and move on from there. But otherwise, thank you for listening. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Take care.